Alright, what's up everybody out there in YouTube land? I've decided to make this video, as you can see, part way through my teardown to get to my radiator, because the first time I did this, I come to find out that there's actually two different radiators for this van, both with the same Mopar part number. But they have different mounting brackets. As you can see on this one, the mounting bracket right here actually has a peg here that I'll show you later on in the video when I get to it, that slides down into this, which is the fan shroud, which locks into that track right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and pull out the other radiator, the brand new one, to show you it. And then I'll show you a couple little things that I've learned about how to make the tear down to get to the radiator a lot more simple. So I'll be back here in a minute. Alright, now that I've got the new radiator out of the box, try to get it into some light right here so you can see more of what it's supposed to look like. I'll show you that side right there. There's a little bit more light on it. So you can see the rubber bushing on the bottom for that peg. There's the bottom track right there. And then here's the top track. Now I'll open this up and give you a more detailed look at this here in a moment. Now as far as the teardown goes, what I've come to find out about the teardown, to make it easier, is we got some, now these were already removed by the time I got to it, but I'm guessing that there was either bolts or body pegs in these 5 holes right here on the bottom. And then you have some screw holes here for your fender well shroud on both sides. Now behind that fender well, there's another little bolt that goes in here where those pegs are. And then you got another nut right here. Now all this is back behind here. You got your nut here, and then you got your other little bolt back here where that hole is that you can see. Now this fender is a little bit tore up, so it doesn't actually attach the way it's supposed to. Alright, now once you've taken this bolt out, these 4 screws on both sides to get to it, and this nut off behind the headlights, all that's left to do is take this bolt out here on top and that bolt out there, and then the whole bumper and front grille assembly will come off the van. You don't have to take none of these screws out here or anything like that. Now what you might have to do is you might have to jack the van up to take the tire off. Let me show you on the other side because it's still got the shroud. To be able to get the shroud off, to get to that bolt in the back. I don't know if you can actually see it down in there or not. It don't look like it. That's going to be the biggest pain in the ass, is to get behind the shroud to get to that one bolt on that side, on those sides. But once you've done that, you'll be able to get down to this right here. Now I'm going to make this even quicker because I'm not going to remove the mounting brackets. I'm going to leave them attached to this cross member, and then I'm going to take these 4 bolts out and then lift the whole cross member up. As you can see, I've already taken the hood latch off. There's the 2 bolts for that. Now I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and I'm going to go ahead and take this cross member off. Alright, now that I got the cross member off, I'm going to go ahead and show you those pegs that I'm talking about. Now in other vehicles, on replacing the radiator in the Dodge Caravan, you'll notice that these brackets will be made out of metal, and the pegs will actually be on the radiator themselves. And this fan shroud right here will actually have a completely different setup and a completely different set of mounting points. This whole top part won't be here, and there'll be 4, I don't know if you can see it down there, there you go, of these little bolts that attach to the radiator. And the whole radiator will be black, and there'll be no top track. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and remove these wire clamps from the fans. Then I'm going to go ahead and remove these 2 bolts down here. And once I've done that, this whole fan shroud will actually lift up and out of here. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and do that next. Before I move on, this whole disassembly and installation, you only need 4 tools. You're going to need a little miniature screwdriver to get the clamps and safety clips and all that stuff off. You're going to need a 5/16 and an 11/32 wrench, mostly the 5/16 end, because that's what fits those little bolts that hold your headlight on. The nut that I showed you that are on the peg on the bumper piece, and it'll also fit that little tiny bolt down there that also holds the bumper on. And you're also going to need a Phillips head screwdriver for the screws on the fender well shrouds. You're going to need a, I do believe this is, a 10mm socket. And you're also going to need a 13mm socket. And then whichever size socket wrench that fits. And alright, I'm going to go ahead and take the fan shroud off now. One more thing that I want to point out. I also went ahead and pulled the overflow line going to the overflow. I did that before I pulled the bracket off. Before I forget to mention that. Alright, now that I've got the screws out, this right here will just lift. Okay, I was hoping I was going to be able to do that without disconnecting that top hose, but I'm not, so give me one more moment and we'll go ahead and get the 5th tool, which is a pair of pliers to get these hoses off. Alright, now that I got the hose up out of the way, this whole fan shroud will lift right up and out. And I'll go ahead and show you what this fan shroud looks like. You can see the bolt holes there and there. And you see these two kind of shark fins sticking out on the bottom. And then there's the pieces that sit inside the top track. And then we got another little piece here that sits in the side of a clip at the bottom of the radiator. Now the shark fins actually sit inside of these little hooks right here. There's one on each side, and then that little notch out sits in this little metal clip right here in the bottom. And then there's the top track. You can actually see where it sits. Now on the other radiator, like I said, there will be no rail here, and there'll be a peg sticking up off the radiator where you see these two holes at. And that'll just be a little black piece of molded sheet metal. Alright, now next I'm going to take the AC radiator thingy here off the front. Now I'm not going to take any of these off here or here because I don't want to have to deal with the Freon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze these clamps here, pull it off the front face of the radiator. There's another set. Now this right here sits inside of a little hook set like on the fan shroud. Now what I'm going to need to do here is I'm going to need to have to take off these little rubber pieces to be able to get everything off around these hard lines. Alright, and to do that, there's another set of pinch clips here and down here at the bottom on the driver's side. And then there's the same over here. There's another set at the top. This one's got 3, so there's a set right here between these two hard lines, and then the one on the very bottom. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take those off now. Alright, now that I've got them detached from the radiator itself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this up slightly, just enough to get it up out of those hooks on the bottom and to move it forward. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, now that I got this piece lifted up out of those hooks, I can slide these off and up and out. Now this one's going to be a little bit more difficult because there we go. Well, I thought it was going to be a little bit more difficult because it was the first time I did it, to try and get these out from around these hard lines. Actually made it look a little easier than it actually is your first time out. You can go ahead and take this off if you want. You're going to need to save this. Alright, now we are down to the radiator itself. The last thing I need to do is take a pair of pliers and take that hose off the bottom right there. Now, do be careful when you do this, especially if your radiator's still got water in it like this one does, because you will get wet or your feet will get wet. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do that next, and then once I get that hose off, this whole radiator will just lift right up and out. Do apologize that this isn't all spit and polished and nice and clean, but I'm hoping that it's at least informative, so bear with me, please. Okay, I did forget to mention that you are going to have to remove 2 body pegs for this plastic piece down here. Now this right here is actually attached to the fender wall shroud. Now I had already moved that out of the way the first time I did this, because I had to take that tire off to get that shroud out to get to the little bolt thingy back there. But for this disassembly, I'm just gonna pop these body pegs and try to bend this up and out of the way, so this way I can get to this hose clamp and pull it off with the pliers. And to do that, I'm going to use my trusty handy dandy little mini screwdriver. Alright, now that I've got that popped loose, I can get down there with the pliers and get at the hose clamp. And I will be doing that next. Alright, now that I've got that hose pulled loose, I can go ahead. I got to make sure that I slide this a little bit off to my right to get it past. Oh, last time I did this with 2 hands. Alright, let me go ahead and pause the video again. Now, I just need to lift it up slightly angled to get that out from around these hard lines, and then this whole thing will just lift right up and out. Alright, there we go. Now we got the radiator out. Now, it is a bit finicky, being as I still got that piece in the van with the hard lines attached to it. So you got to make sure that none of this stuff hooks onto it to be able to get it out. But there's the radiator right there. Go ahead and give you a little shot of the top again. Go ahead and back up and give you a shot of the front. There's your mounting points on the front for your AC. You can see where the leak was. It took us a minute to get the new radiator in, so I had to do a little patch. There's the passenger side. You see the mounting points there. Alright. Now turning to the back side. Here's our top hose, inlet, outlet. Here's that little hook on the bottom for the fan shroud, the bolt, nut. We got this little red knob. That's a good, definite telltale sign that this is the right radiator, because it'll have that little red knob on it. We got the rubber feet. And here's the passenger side. And then the bottom outlet, inlet, and the other rubber foot. And then there's the bottom track of your radiator, and the little metal hook that the bottom of the fan shroud sits in, right there. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and take the other one out of its cardboard, and I'll set them side by side to show you the new one and the old one. And there's the new one and the old one. Now, your installation is just going to be reverse of the disassembly process. Yeah. Since this video is getting really long as it is, I'm not going to go ahead and show you that because I don't have a whole heck of a lot of memory space. But I hope that this helps you identify which radiator you have in your Dodge Caravan. This particular one is an 07 model. And yeah, If you've made it this far into the video, please hit that thumbs up button. And yeah. Till next time, I'm Bones, and you are whoever you are, and I am out of here.